This is my review of Oleksandr Usyk's belated heavyweight debut against last-minute replacement Chazz Witherspoon. Now, there are a lot of people off the back of this performance who are writing Usyk's chances off against the top heavyweights already, just based on one performance. I'm not going to address those Usyk skeptics in this particular video, and I'm also not going to reveal whether or not my view on how Usyk would do against the top heavyweights has changed based upon this performance. I've instead addressed it in a separate video, and you can watch that video by clicking the link, which I've left in the description box below. All right, so if you want to hear me address or respond to the Usyk skeptics and also reveal whether my opinion has changed on how Usyk does against the big boys, watch that video, which I've linked in the description below. Because in this video, I'll just be focusing on this fight. Usyk versus Witherspoon. What I liked, what I didn't like, what I thought he did well, and what I thought he did not so well. All right, so Witherspoon comes in as a last-minute replacement. It was supposed to be Tyrone Spong. You know, we'll avoid talking about that for this video, maybe address it in a different video, but it ended up being Chazz Witherspoon. He weighed in at a career heaviest 242 pounds, I think it was. Chazz Witherspoon is normally in the mid-230s, so although he was heavier than he's ever been before, he wasn't massively heavier, which might suggest that he has been in some kind of training, okay? Now, Chazz Witherspoon was apparently a good amateur, but as a professional, he's done absolutely nothing. Chazz Witherspoon is not a good professional heavyweight. For the first couple rounds, Usyk was circumspect. He was conservative with his punch output. He wasn't moving his feet as often or as fluidly as we're accustomed to seeing him. He was just having a look at Witherspoon. I think Usyk was a little nervous, and in fact, he alluded to this in a couple post-fight interviews where he said that he had some, let's just say, demons in his mind going into this fight. To me, he did look a little nervous. It's interesting to speculate why that was. Surely he can't have been nervous of Chazz Witherspoon. Surely he can't have been nervous of facing a late replacement opponent, because he fought guys in the amateurs and the World Series of Boxing. I mean, he had hundreds of amateur fights, and very often in the amateurs, you won't know who you're going to fight until the day of the fight. And he's fought much better fighters in the amateurs in the World Series of Boxing and at cruiserweight as a professional than Chazz Witherspoon. So what was he concerned about? What was he nervous about? Perhaps it was the layoff and the ring rust, because he had been out the ring for a year. Maybe he was worried about where he would be at after the layoff. Maybe it was this torn bicep or this bicep injury that some people say Usyk has had and he's been rehabilitating himself from. Maybe it was a combination of different things, which led to Usyk feeling a little uneasy going into this fight. But to me, he looked a little nervous. And when you've got a fighter who is as experienced as Usyk, who suspects that they might be ring rusty, they tend to start cautiously to just try and see not only what the opponent is like, but where they're at themselves, you know? So that's what I saw in the first couple rounds, is a ring rusty, circumspect Usyk, just trying to find out the lay of the land, get his range, get his timing, get his distance, you know, see what Chazz Witherspoon was about. And once he started feeling comfortable, and I want to say that happened maybe in the third or fourth round, it was game over. Because then we got something like the Usyk we're used to seeing, where he was moving off to the side, he was using, you know, footwork and angles, he was letting go combinations, and in a pretty short space of time, it became a complete mismatch. And after the seventh round, Chazz Witherspoon's corner pulled him out, and rightly so, because he was never going to win the fight. Usyk did get touched a couple times in the fight by some counters, you know, a couple right hands here and there. Nothing too bad. And in fact, I think people are massively exaggerating the success that Chazz Witherspoon had in this fight, or the difficulty that Usyk had here. I really don't think there was anything too alarming, to be honest with you. I didn't watch this fight live, but based upon what people were saying I was expecting Usyk to have gone life and death. He got caught with a couple little shots, and that was it. The guy's been out the ring for a year. Apparently had a bicep injury. Didn't feel that comfortable coming into the fight mentally. And, with all that going on, was this performance that bad? No, it wasn't. It was okay. Heavyweight debut did all right. Now, he's going to need to be more active. And this is where I'm going to maybe put some advisories on it, right? Like when you take your car for an MOT, they put advisories on the car, what work needs doing. And I think Usyk should get at least 1 or 2 more fights in before he challenges for a heavyweight title. He's talking about fighting for the WBO belt, which he's mandatory for, in his next fight. I personally don't think that's advisable. Yeah, he might be able to go in there and still win, but to give himself the best chance of winning, I would advise him to take a couple more fights to just get back into the swing of things, into the flow of things. Now, there are obviously people who expected Usyk to blast Witherspoon out, or they thought that for Usyk to be a viable contender at the top level at heavyweight, he needs to be blasting guys like Chazz Witherspoon out. I think those people are very short-sighted because Oleksandr Usyk wasn't a destructive puncher even at cruiserweight. So why is he going to be doing that at heavyweight? I mean, if you look at Usyk's record just quickly here, in his early career, when he was fighting less than stellar opposition at cruiserweight, I mean, he was going rounds. Look at this here. Daniel Brewer took him 7 rounds. Danny Venter took him 9 rounds. This guy, 11-1. Andre Canizet, I can't pronounce that surname, but he took him 8 rounds. Okay? Pedro Julio Rodriguez took him 7. So Usyk, even against less than stellar opposition, before he stepped up and started fighting the elite at cruiserweight, he was going rounds. So this is not a guy whose game is to go out there and blast you out. This is a guy whose game is footwork, movement, angles, and also adaptability. Usyk has shown at cruiserweight the ability to switch up his style and switch up his tactics for particular opponents. And I'll give you some examples here. Against Tony Bellew and against Maris Bridis, he fought quite an aggressive fight both times, where he was on the front foot, stalking, kind of like he was against Chazz Witherspoon in rounds, 4, 5, 6, 7. He was quite aggressive. He was, pinning him in the corners and on the ropes, letting go combinations. That's how he fought against Bellew and against Bridis. But if you saw when Usyk fought, where are we at now? When Usyk fought Glavatsky, if you saw that fight, then you would have seen that Usyk was actually moving around the ring from round 1 to round 12. He understood that Glavatsky was a guy who was good in the pocket, a puncher in the pocket, dangerous in the pocket, but a guy who had relatively slow feet. And so he thought, you know what, let me not give him an opportunity in the pocket. I can dance circles around this guy. And that was, of course, when Usyk won his first world title was against Krzysztof Glavatsky. So, yeah, he can change up his style, his tactics, depending on the opponent. Against Thabiso Mchunu, who's a short South African cruiserweight, very fast hands, very athletic, Usyk elected to fight a lot of that fight on the inside, which surprised me and really impressed me because Mchunu's very good on the inside, very fast. Why give the shorter guy the advantage? Well, because Usyk knew that even though the shorter guy's got quick hands and stuff like that, is good on the inside, he was even better on the inside. And so he switched it up again in that fight. So Usyk is versatile and he's going to tailor his tactics to particular opponents. That is what you should expect him to do at heavyweight as well. If you think that Usyk is going to fight everybody the way he fought Chazz Witherspoon, or fight everybody the way he fought Tony Bellew, then you don't know as much about boxing as you should know. A guy as experienced as Oleksandr Usyk, not only in the amateurs, but also in the World Series of Boxing, at the elite level at cruiserweight, he's not going to fight everybody the same way. He's going to look at them, look at their strengths and weaknesses, and try and figure out the best way to beat them. And it's not always going to be in the same way. All right. So this performance here against Chazz Witherspoon, I thought he was fine. Yes, he was rusty, got touched a couple times. You know, nothing too alarming there, to be honest with you. And I'm very surprised at how overboard people are going with the Usyk criticism and writing off his chances. Very surprised by that. But again, I'll address it all in more depth in a separate video, which is linked in the description box below. But yeah, as I say, the advice I would give is Usyk should take at least a couple more fights before challenging for the WBO heavyweight title, which is mandatory for. And he's also talked about, and the main reason I say he should take those fights is just to get himself back into a rhythm of fighting on a regular, you know, just to shake all the ring rust off. They don't even need to be against the best quality opposition in the world, just opposition that's going to give him rounds and get him into the groove of things again. But he also, in one or two post-fight interviews, talked about being heavier or putting more weight on for future heavyweight bouts. I think that would be a massive mistake on Usyk's part to do that. Massive mistake. I think that because he felt negative coming into this fight, that he is magnifying any mistakes he made here against Chazz Witherspoon in his own mind. I think he himself in his own mind is blowing him out of proportion. Thinking, oh, now he needs to bulk up and, you know, get real strong and hit much harder. I don't think he needs any of that. I just think he needs more ring time, shake the rust off, you know, get those legs bouncing around the ring again, and he'll be absolutely fine. Putting on weight, putting on extra muscle, I think is going to be to his detriment. I don't see it benefiting him in any way. Usyk is not a natural huge puncher. You know, he's not, you're not going to turn this guy into a Joshua or Wilder level puncher by putting, 10 or 20 pounds of muscle on him. It's not going to happen. All you're going to do is you're going to slow him down. You're going to take a lot of his stamina away, and the things which will make him effective against the bigger guys will become less effective. So I am concerned about him saying that he wants to put more weight on. He came in at 215 for this fight, which is probably not much heavier than he weighs for his cruiserweight fights. And again, I think that's perfectly fine, 215. That's probably his walking around weight. Perfect weight as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Hopefully he will change his mind on, putting extra muscle on or weight on for future fights. But that's my take on his performance. I thought it was a perfectly adequate performance against this late replacement opponent, last minute opponent in truth, Chazz Witherspoon. He just needs a few more fights, 2 or 3 more fights, then I think he'll be ready to challenge for the heavyweight crown. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And again, if you want to hear me talk about how I think he'd do against the big boys and address all the skeptics, that's in a separate video linked in the description box below. All right, it's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.